All right, now you brought up some good problems to keep an eye on. I'm going to give you two more. We've got a Fed meeting coming up, and the odds are higher now that we may get a rate hike. And also, oil turning today. Are you worried about that?
Oil, we're crossing our fingers. The feeling down here is oil should find some support between 48 and 48 and a half. If it fails to find that, then we could have much bigger problems. And the Fed meeting next week, it's a little strange. They've got great numbers on jobs. The ADP number was phenomenal. But if you look at the Dallas Fed indicator of GDP, that's been marked down well below 2, well below 1.9, which had been considered weak. It's been moved down to 1.2, and that's pretty close to stall speed. So there is some slight risk in the 100% likelihood that the Fed will lift, and that markets, the economy as such, could see some pushback coming from it.
All right, Jeff Kilberg from Chicago wants to jump in here for a sec.
Hey, Art, Jeff Kilberg. I've told you in person, I think you're one of the best in the business, and all the folks here in Chicago love you. So they really enjoy your perspective. And one thing we haven't talked about yet is the 10-year. We're always focused on interest rates here in Chicago. So, Art, my question is, what level does the 10-year become a negative for the S&P 500?
I think it really kicks in above 275, and certainly if we get up to 3, that would be much more of a problem. So I think, they're watching and waiting. They're assuming the Fed next week is one of the reasons that we're getting a push up under yields here in the 10-year. The auction yesterday went reasonably well. So I think there's more watchful waiting. But if you get up around that 2.75 area, I think you'll see some red lights flashing.
Grizz wants to jump in with a question.
Hey, Art, talking about the 8-year bull run that we're having, in your history and what you see down there, in your experience, do you think it ends with a whimper or a thud?
I think ultimately it will end with a thud, because what's going to happen is when it begins to change direction, you've got to remember, everybody's down here talking happily about 8 years ago when the market bottomed, and they seem to have forgotten 8.5 years ago when Paulson and Bernanke and all the key congressional leaders were in Pelosi's office and were actually discussing the possibility of invoking or declaring martial law in the United States. That's how close we came to the wheels coming off the locomotive. So it's nice to know we've come back over 8 years since then, but I'm not sure we have everything fully cemented in place. So the nervousness will continue. Chris, I always say to people, I survived over 50 years in this business because the first thing I do when I go into a room is look for the exit sign. I want to know how I'm going to get out.
Words to live by.
That's longevity. Right. That's longevity.
Thank you so much, Art.